Well, this time it was John Deaton's turn to respond to the SEC in his own response to the SEC's motion in opposition to the motion to intervene. John Deaton, of course, being the attorney representing XRP holders, hoping to intervene in this case of the SEC versus Ripple. And on Monday, he submitted his response and laid out this case in amazing detail, as he's done with all his paperwork. And recently, Bitcoin's energy consumption has been brought front and center by Elon Musk. His adaptation of Bitcoin by buying $1.5 billion of it and then subsequently saying, well, we're no longer going to accept Bitcoin for Tesla because of its energy consumption. That's brought it to the forefront. But there's a couple other people that would like to point out some things about energy consumption to Mr. Musk. And if you've been following these stories, closely, you can see that there's a narrative starting to set up. And in my last video, I actually touched on this narrative a little bit. And there's actually several coins, including XRP, that are really set to benefit from this new narrative, and we're going to get into that in this video. Hey everybody, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And on this channel right now, I'm covering the SEC versus Ripple case because it's fascinating to me and it's incredibly important to the crypto community as a whole. And I also cover different cryptocurrency news, investment markets, personal finance, and stimulus check updates. So if any of those topics interest you at all, go ahead and click that subscribe button, and don't forget to tap the bell notification icon. That way YouTube will notify you when I release a new video. And of course I do that when there's new developments, and in this space there are always a ton of new developments. And if you're feeling really generous, I'd really appreciate it if you give this video a big thumbs up. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Basically tells YouTube to introduce this video to new audiences. So if you do that, I'd greatly appreciate it. Alright guys, well, let's jump right into it. And yes, as you can see, I am still in vacation mode. And yes, as you can see, I got a little sun on my face. Maybe I'll try a little more sunscreen tomorrow. Okay, now let's get into it. Okay, so as of Monday, John Deaton submitted his memo to the courts. It was basically his response in the opposition for John Deaton to intervene into the SEC versus Ripple case. The SEC responded to the motion to intervene and said, nope, we don't want you to intervene because of X, Y, and Z. This was John Deaton's response. And in this response, he actually went ahead and laid out a ton of arguments as for why exactly that he should be able to intervene on behalf of over 16,000 XRP holders that actually signed on to his case. He did an amazing job of laying out the conflict of interest between Jay Clayton and William Hinman, the original men who brought the case from the SEC against Ripple, while laying out that those who bought XRP tokens are not investors in Ripple, which is basically what the SEC is now claiming. And his response also outlined that in this district court, the district that this court case is going through, there's actually no language or legal authority barring any intervention into a case like this. The SEC, in their response, their opposition, they basically claimed that legally that no one can actually intervene and that John Deaton has no standing on doing so. Well, John Deaton laid out in several cases where motions to intervene were actually put through successfully, and I'm not going to list all the different case laws that he cited, but he did go through that and lay it out item by item. Basically, point by point of this whole response, just completely obliterated everything the SEC has been saying and bringing in opposition to John Deaton's motion to intervene. I actually have a link to his document in the description below. You can go check it out in its lengthy read. If you like reading case laws and all kinds of legalese, go for it. And the second part of this that I wanted to talk about in the video is this narrative that's really starting to set up, that's really becoming a mainstream, in part by the United States government and in part by guys like Elon Musk. Now, part of this mainstream narrative was also the Bank of America, who recently warned of the coming hyperinflation. Well, the coming hyperinflation was because of the Fed. Well, the Fed, it being a central bank, is basically in complete opposition to what Bitcoin is. In fact, Bitcoin was actually designed and created to avoid the different catastrophes and recessions that fiat currency is constantly putting people through. So CoinDesk just did a great article on the comparisons of energy usage of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies versus fiat and the banking system. And what he basically did was used mainstream reports to basically quantify the amount of energy that a US dollar to compare it to Bitcoin. So he took a look at the 2008 financial crisis, which that was actually the crisis which triggered somebody to actually go ahead and start creating Bitcoin. to create a decentralized monetary system that couldn't be controlled by a government and manipulated in ways that end up in recessions every 5 to 7 years. So in this report, they basically laid out that each US dollar uses the approximate of 1.5 kilowatt hours. And this is due mostly to the massive infrastructure costs of all the banks, the computing systems, employees, software, communications, satellites, and everything that goes into it. And so we basically came up with a number that said the 2008 recession or financial crisis resulted in about a 16,500 kilowatt hour usage. Now, if you look at how much energy Bitcoin actually consumes as a currency, as a digital currency, it would actually take between 100 to 200 years to use that much energy as one year in crisis in the fiat currency world. Not to mention the money printing that's going on right now that's currently in hyperdrive that is going to lead to more and more inflation, which it might be good for crypto, but it's going to be bad for energy consumption as a whole. And then you got guys like Max Keiser, who is an extreme Bitcoin maxi, as they call him, who recently said in an interview a couple of days ago that if Bitcoin, or really the crypto world as a whole, but Bitcoin specifically, if it took over the fiat currency system, the fiat monetary system, that energy consumption globally would drop by 75%, because that is how much energy usage the central banking system and the fiat banking system actually use right now. In fact, there's several reports that list the global banking system is actually the #1 pollutant in the entire world. And so we can look at this and by extension see that Bitcoin actually uses 57,000 times more energy than XRP uses, largely in the fact that you don't mine XRP. But if you look at the narrative, like in my video yesterday, it points to energy, energy, energy. This is what the United States government is always pushing towards. Greener initiatives, using less energy, smaller carbon footprint. Now, there are several cryptocurrencies that are now set to really explode because of the initiatives, the spending initiatives, and the pushes to actually implement these things that in the next couple of years are really going to take off. XRP is obviously one of them. But it's interesting because by Elon Musk standards, he shouldn't be accepting any US dollars or any fiat currency to buy a Tesla. But let's not get numbers get in the way. Okay, so who else besides XRP is really going to stand to benefit and stand to pop? Because I've seen some crazy price predictions out there right now, and some of the ones that I started tracking about 3 months ago so far have been spot on. Even as Bitcoin has really seen fluctuations, largely because of Elon Musk's tweets, some of these other cryptocurrencies have really started to decouple a little bit. Mostly because of their lack of energy consumption, and some others are very big in the DeFi space, which as we know is an extremely popular and growing segment. So besides XRP, there's also Stellar, Cardano, which I've been tracking for several months now, and it's really starting to pop. Actually, I just looked at the chart not long ago, and it's almost a straight line up the last couple of weeks. Ethereum is actually still on this list because even though it's kind of seen its ups and downs right along with Bitcoin, it's sometimes decoupled and it's sometimes not. But it's actually seen as a fairly energy-friendly, mineable token. And Solana, which is also seen as another cryptocurrency that could rival Bitcoin at some point, but right now it's just really small. But it has been climbing, and it's also been on my watch chart for about the last 3 months. So if there's any more that you think should be on my watch list because of its extremely low energy usage or the fact that it's not even a mineable coin, and you think that it could be big in the DeFi space, let me know in the comment section below who is on your watch list for these energy-friendly cryptocurrencies. I'd really like to see some of what your guys' favorites are. Alright guys, that's it. I appreciate you watching this video. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next video.